Hi, it's Ollie here with East Midlands Music, and we are joined with Frank Turner. How's it going, Frank?
As I was just saying, I'm a little bit hungover, I'll be honest. We were at candle calling last night, we had a lovely time. But the day is going and time heals all wounds, so yeah, good, thank you.
Looking forward to the set tonight?
Yeah, definitely. I've got a real soft spot for this festival, actually. I played here twice before, and Ralph, who runs the joint, is a lovely guy. And I don't take headlining a festival lightly. Like, it's a really amazing thing to be asked to do, and I'm excited about it.
Brilliant. Any surprises maybe for us?
Yeah, but I'm not going to tell you what they are, because then they wouldn't be surprises.
Good. Well, let's get started with
Okay.
just some basic background stuff. Just tell me how you got into music and the Frank Turner story, really.
I got into metal when I was 10. Having not really been into music at all, I got into Iron Maiden, then I got into grunge, then I got into punk, and then it's never really looked back. I started touring in 1998 when I was 16, and then toured in a bunch of punk bands. The last punk band I was in called Million Dead. We broke up, started playing solo stuff, and that was nearly 10 years ago now, and here we are at Why Not Festival.
Yeah. So you said Million Dead broke up about 10 years ago.
Thereabouts.
Was there actually a plan in your mind to go and, I'm going to make folk music now?
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, I didn't want to be in a band anymore, or at least not at that exact moment in time. I felt quite burned and quite let down by some of the things that happened at the end of Million Dead, and it was quite, I didn't really want to have to rely on anybody else, and I wanted to change the style of music I was playing because I felt quite burned out and hardcore generally. So playing acoustic guitar seemed to be pretty different to me, and I gave it a try and felt pretty good. It's funny though, because particularly the early years, I did a lot of touring on the train on my own, just playing anywhere, and just playing hundreds and hundreds of shows. And at the time, I think I felt like I had a plan, and all my friends thought I was nuts. And now, looking back, all my friends think I must have had a plan, and I look back and think, man, I was definitely nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it's kind of weird.
Well, I mean, a lot of people accused you of sort of selling out when you went to folk. But I mean, this is way before Mumford and Sons and Laura Marling got to number one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Well, the thing that slightly grinds my gears about that statement, I try not to let that kind of stuff get to me, because anybody who's successful gets that kind of stuff and really get a hobby. But like, the thing that annoys me is that I know for a fact that if I'd formed another punk or hardcore band after leaving Million Dead, I would have got a major record label deal within 2 months, and I would have had a very easy, successful time. The first 2 years of playing solo, no one gave a shit about what I was doing. Nobody came to the shows. I was on my own. I was playing squats. I was sleeping on the floor, and it was definitely commercially a retrograde step to take this path. Obviously now things have changed and it's kind of gone on to somewhere else, but the idea that I chose to do this for commercial reasons kind of annoys me. Something I'm quite proud of is that essentially what I did was just kind of follow my, there's not really an unpretentious way of saying this, but like sort of follow my muse. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, this is the music that I feel driven to make, regardless of how unfashionable, because the folk thing wasn't really happening. Certainly the whole folk punk thing really wasn't happening back then.
Yeah.
And
it's a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, it was a big hit to take, essentially, to do this kind of stuff. And I'm not asking for anybody's sympathy for that fact.
Yeah.
No one really has to give a shit. But I did it for artistic reasons.
Good. So you formed a new side project called Mongol Horde, as you obviously know. Of course.
I'd forgotten.
Yeah. And I just wanted to know how that came about, and it's more like the hardcore stuff, like we're just talking about.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the thing with Mongol Horde, it was kind of an idea that's been floating around for a long time. Ben, who plays drums in that band, played drums in Million Dead, and indeed the band I was in before that, Knee Jerk. And he and I grew up together. We learned how to play music together, and I kind of miss him, and I wanted to play with him again. That was a part of it. And partly, I grew up listening to extreme heavy music, and I don't make that kind of music anymore. And part of me misses it. Obviously not all of me, otherwise I'd just go and do that. But there's definitely kind of a facet of my personality that doesn't get an outlet in what I do normally. And mainly it's just a lot of fun, actually. It's really different from what I do usually. And we did a record and we did a tour, and we're gonna do Reading and Leeds, and then I don't know if we'll do anything again. Probably like a few years down the line, but it's really kind of liberating, actually, with Mongol Horde, because we don't do anything that we don't want to do. And I'm not in any way doing down this interview. We're having a lovely time, but like on the Mongol Horde tour, it was like I was just like, no press, can't be asked, and it was great. It was like, do you want to do an interview? No, I don't. And it was just so lovely to just go on tour and just kind of go sightseeing and get drunk.
Yeah, fair enough. It's like back in the old days then, kind of.
Yeah, and it was just kind of pure enjoyment. And that's not to say I don't enjoy what I do with normally. Of course I do. It's great, but it was just kind of it was just kind of hanging out with my friends on a tour bus. It was a good time.
Yeah, it's great. So earlier on this year, you did a 7-date arena tour, which was fully sold out. And now you've just announced a 15-date tour, again in the UK, in the same year, and that's pretty much sold out again, but this is like smaller venues, not arenas. What was the thought process behind, oh, let's do arenas, oh, let's go back to the smaller venues?
Well, I mean, the arena, there's chronologically separate decisions. The arena thing was like, we did Wembley, and we'd done, we sold out kind of Hammersmith and Manchester Apollo months up front, that kind of thing, and anyway, I just wanted to see if it would work. I mean, I never thought that I would get to playing in arenas when I started doing what I'm doing. It's not like it's something that's on my list of ambitions, but at the same time, my approach to life generally is just like, you might as well try something, because fuck it. I mean, so we, and the opportunity came around, and we just thought, let's see if this works, and I think it did. I think it went really well. But then for the next tour, because that one was a short tour playing big venues, which is fine, but I don't want to do that every single time. Some bands, the only UK tours they ever do, they do Glasgow, Birmingham, Manchester, London, Bristol, and that's it, and maybe Southampton or something. And I think that's kind of boring. And I like, I grew up in a city that wasn't on anybody's touring route. Do you know what I mean? And so I know what it's like to be from one of those towns. And I thought, and I like going. Plus, I mean, it's kind of more interesting for me. Do you know what I mean? I've never been to hold on. Where's the place I've never been to? I've never been to like Warrington before, or apart from changing trains there. I've never been to Wakefield before. We're going to see some new places and play some different venues and just kind of keep it interesting both for us and for the audience. The other thing as well is that the September tour is about playing new songs in. I've got new albums kind of written. We're going to be playing a lot of new material on the tour to kind of not road test it necessarily, because it's not quite that, but it's just playing and stuff in live makes you tighter with it. And then the idea is that we're going to roll straight off the tour into the studio to make the album.
Ah, okay, all right. And do you find it easier to connect with the audience in a smaller venue as opposed to a larger one?
There are different facets to it. Like in some ways, it's kind of easier to play in smaller venues because people are right there and that connections. Plus, also, I mean, to be honest, you can practice playing in smaller venues. Do you know what I mean? Like bigger venues, you generally get the one shot, and if you fuck it up, then you don't go back. But then, I mean, there's something physical about being in a room with 10,000 people or whatever that's kind of, it's not really like anything else. Do you know what I mean? It's a really kind of mad feeling. I mean, at the risk of sounding slightly like a hippie, I think that the context of shows is overdone, like in the sense that I don't actually think that the number of people at a show matters nearly as much as other things, like how we play, how we connect with an audience, how the audience are in response to the songs, that kind of thing. And I want to play in the rooms full of people who want to hear me play, and if that's an arena, great, and if it's a pub, then I'll play that.
Great. So you spoke about the next record that you're working on, and I just wanted to know, when do you think we'll see that? Probably next year now? Yeah,
early next year is the idea. I want to get it out in the first couple of months next year. Having said, I will throw in the caveat of like, I'm kind of lucky enough to be in a position where I can kind of make sure the record's right and deal with the release date afterwards, kind of thing. And there's no point in me rushing out a record at this point in my career. Having said that, I'm very fired up about this next album. I know what I want it to sound like. I know what I want the songs to be and want it to look like, all that kind of thing. I feel like I've got a real plan in my head. So hopefully, February. Let's say February.
February, okay.
You heard it here first.
So the other thing I wanted to chat about was the recording process. A lot of bands have started to record live, like the whole band recording and then maybe overdub a little bit. Is that something you've looked into or something you've done? Yeah,
that's how we did Poetry of the Deed, which I have very mixed feelings about that record, to be honest with you, but it's not necessarily because of the recording process. It's more that is a record that I feel that I rushed a little, and if I could, I don't really believe in regrets or whatever, but if I had the opportunity to kind of think that record through a little more, then I would in retrospect. But I think that particularly now at this point, because the other thing is when we made Poetry of the Deed, the Sleeping Souls was a new entity, and I feel like you can hear that on the record. Now, we've got 6 years touring under our belt, and though I say so myself, I think we're a lean, mean touring machine, and I think that the Sleeping Souls are the best band in rock and roll, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about the idea of just capturing what we do live.
All right, so the last thing I wanted to chat about is just the music industry.
Right.
I just wanted to know, how has it changed from when you started to now?
I mean, I started out playing in the DIY scene, which I don't know enormously what's happening on the underground hardcore scene right now. I'm not an expert, but like, I'd imagine it's probably ticking over just fine. In terms of the kind of more kind of established music industry, I think that I started getting involved in it just as the internet was starting to kind of make its impact. So that's kind of gone along in the way that it's gone along. You know, record sales have fallen. Vinyl's made a bit of a comeback, but it's not really the same thing. It's changed a bit, but it's still there. You know, there's still bands coming through making music, and there are still shows happening, and that's fine.
Would you say that maybe it's dying or evolving?
No, it's changing. The business model is completely changing. But at the end of the day, I care about music and not about business models.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all the questions I've got for you.
Excellent.
So,
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Let's shake hands on camera, like we're presidents.
Thank you.